About Fullerton. A great thing about our campus, maybe you're like, oh, I wanted to hear about Long Beach, I want to hear about someone else. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them, but a lot of the information I have will mirror a lot of the resources information that our other CSU friends have. Maybe a little different as you get into the specifics for them, but tonight you'll be hearing about Cal State Fullerton and a little bit about what we have for you. Just a little more context for you, that I will be taking about 30 minutes of the time to talk through our highlights presentation today. And as Laura noted, we will have some time, of course, for Q&A in the end. So if you have any great questions that come up, go ahead and jot them down as I'm going through the presentation. And again, I'd be so glad to answer those at the end. But to begin here, we'll talk a little bit about the highlights and some of the notable things about our campus. We are Titans. Our mascot is Tuffy the Titan. Back in the early 60s, we actually did, in fact, have elephant races here in Orange County, which inspired our mascot. We love that strength, that amazing creature, and it really stuck with us. So that's why our mascot is Tuffy the Titan. And some other fun information for you here. We were the 12th CSU established of the 22 CSU schools, all the way up to Humboldt County down to San Diego. So many campuses here in California for you to choose from. Here at Cal State Fullerton, we are the campus with the largest student body of all the CSUs. We have over 300,000 alum and over 45,000 active students as of today. So that's a lot of great people, a lot of great networks for you. And of course, we have D1 athletics, that's basketball, baseball, soccer, water polo, a couple other sports that I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of great things going on with our athletics as well. And we are about 6 miles from Angels for any baseball fans, 7 miles from Disney from any Disney fans, and of course, we do have the greater LA area not too far from us, and even not listed here, but things like Newport Beach, and kind of a lot of great areas not too far from our campus, at least within a 30-minute radius of you. So if you're planning to live here on campus with us, or if you're even commuting, there's still a lot of great things for you to see around our campus, within our county and our neighboring counties as well. Moving forward here. So academics, we have a lot of great programs here. And this is one of those slides where I'm going to say that what we have will mirror a lot of what our other CSU friends have. So some of our top majors for our incoming freshmen is going to be our business program. And we are the largest accredited business program on the West Coast at Cal State Fullerton. So a really fun fact about our business program, as well as our psychology programs, computer science, bio, and kinesiology. And for our transfer students, because we are home to a good amount of transfer students as well, you'll see the same programs for those top three: business, psych, and computer science. But as we go to the remaining two, art is a really popular program for us. We don't only have the traditional art, but we also have a dance program, a really great theater arts program, and a number of different bachelors in fine arts. That's going to be things like game art and animation, ceramics, creative photography, and things like that. And also our wonderful child and adolescent studies program. So for anyone who is interested in working with maybe the younger audience, we do have a really great early childhood education program for those younger ages, K through 5, K through 8, kind of things like that. Apart from those things, we have 8 awesome academic colleges, spanning from our College of the Arts, College of Business, College of Communications, Humanities, Social Sciences, and a couple more there. And as I noted earlier, huge student body, 44,000 plus, actually should be 45,000 since we got those numbers corrected pretty recently. So just a little summary of our academics. And if you're not seeing your program listed here and you're feeling a little discouraged, don't be discouraged. Save that question for later on. You can go ahead and ask me if the program that you're interested in is something that we have, and I can go ahead and answer that question for you there. Moving forward here, and this is something that I really want to stress to you whenever you're listening to college presentations from anybody. I'm really paying attention to the different resources that those campuses are going to have for you, because that is in fact where your hard-earned dollars are going towards when you pay for your tuition and things like that. So a couple things that we have that I really love that we have on campus is going to be our academic advising center and career centers, of course. I'm making sure that as you're going through your program, that you have those resources both within your academic college as well as you're getting ready to leave our program, right, and leave into the real world, as they say. Our career center preparing you with the interview practice, resume prep, things like that, and even getting you tied up with those internship and job opportunities that really compare to none when you're thinking about how we're the only CSU in Orange County. We have a couple friends in LA, down in San Diego County, but a unique thing about us is going to be those job opportunities that we do have here in Orange County. A couple of great other things that we have, of course, is our diversity initiative and resource centers spanning across a couple different diversity groups, our Asian American group, our Hispanic American group, and of course, a number of other diversity and resource centers there. Even if you don't identify with a particular group or thing like that. All these Dirks, we call them our Dirk centers, invite you to come and walk through our centers, be a part of them to really learn about the great, awesome people that you call your neighbors and you call your friends as you go through your program here. Safety and health resources. So I will speak on behalf of all of our friends in education, both at your level and higher education, that we do value you as a person before you're a student. So because of that, we want to make sure that you're well taken care of and that you have some great resources to accompany you as you go through your years of college. And one of my favorite resources to talk about is this first one you see here, our ASI food pantry. If you or anyone you know is experiencing food insecurity, no questions asked, you can stop by our food pantry, pick up what you need, maybe for the day, maybe for the week. We are very happy to support you in that because a full stomach is something that you should definitely have walking into the classroom so you're able to focus on your studies. We also have our CAP services. That's our counseling and psychological services. So super valuable to have someone that you could talk to as you're going through things in your life, and even just a space for you to rest and relax. You may see there, what's going on with that person napping there? And those are actually our nap pods that we have on campus. Fun fact, they're one floor above my office in outreach and recruitment. So, if you're a student, maybe you have a 2 hour gap, 3 hour gap between your classes. You don't know what to do. Hey, come over, take a nap. We have a really great nap pod for you. Kind of just another way of saying, hey, in between all the madness, in between all the schoolwork, always time for a nap if you can get one of those in as well. And we also have our SRC, that's our Student Recreation Center. That's basically our gym on campus. So as a student with us, of course, you get free access to that gym. That right there and that picture is our rock wall. But we do have 3 floors worth of workout and exercise machines for you. And it's a really great facility, actually named one of the top 35 student recreation centers in the country. So really great stuff going on there. If you're ever taking a tour of our campus, which I recommend you all do, and any campus you're interested in for that matter, you definitely want to take a look at our gym and see what we have to offer you in there as well. Moving forward, student life. So don't worry. I've heard the rumors. Cal State Fullerton, commuter campus. There's not much going on. There's not much to do. And I would argue that if you're someone, you go to class, you mind your business, you go home after, that's probably correct. There probably isn't much to do. But for someone who's willing to engage, really willing to get out there, see what's up with our club, see what's up with our student government. That's our ASI. Even stop by our farmers market, which is every Thursday. You're going to find that there's so much that we have going on. Even recently, we had our first fall concert. Typically, we have spring concerts. This past spring concert, I believe we had Nav and we had Leon Thomas who came and performed at our spring concert. He sounded amazing. And then for the fall concert, we had Zach Fox, Paris, Texas, and we even had some local artists come and perform for us too for our first fall concert. So now we have spring and fall concerts going on. We also even have a speaker series. September 18th, I believe we had John Chu, the director of Wicked, who came and spoke to our students. And a couple months ago, we had Cynthia Erivo, who was the Wicked Witch, or I forgot her name. I think it was Elphaba, right? In the Wicked movies. But she came, spoke to our students about her experience filming, her life growing up, and what led her to that career path. So how amazing, right? You go to college, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the room with these amazing people who have gone onto the big screen to do these great things, and you get to ask them questions about what's going on in their life and how they got to where they are. We also have our TSU, that's kind of our living room of campus. We have a bowling alley on the third floor. We have an esports lounge. We have a Starbucks in there. We have a lot of spaces and places for you to study, hang out with your friends. We have our arboretum. That's our fancy word for our garden. We have a 26-acre arboretum. So if you ever want to kind of take a break from seeing all the buildings, walk down to our arboretum and sit down and relax around some grass and even see some of our invasive red snapper turtles that we do have in our pond there and some of our awesome ducks. You have a lot of great things on our campus. So again, you may have heard on the streets, there's not much going on at Cal State Fullerton. I would invite you to come to our campus during one of our busy weeks to see how awesome things are and what we have cooking over there. All right? Housing and residential engagement. So we're getting into a couple more specific things. So I want to be clear with you all that living on campus is not a requirement for you as a CU student, and it's not also a guarantee as our housing is impacted. As I said earlier, we are the CSU campus with the largest student body of all of our CSUs. So that means first come, first serve. I've never heard a situation where a student who applied on time or early for that matter had any issues with applying or getting into our housing. I have heard issues when it gets into 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after, 4 weeks after. So you know what they say, early bird gets the worm. As long as you are aware of our deadlines, aware of our dates with our housing, you're really going to have no problem getting into our housing. And if you were interested, you can go ahead and scan this QR code on the bottom of the screen to see the different type of housings that we do have for you. We do have, of course, our apartments, our residence halls, and our suites on campus for you all. Great. And study abroad, we do have a really great study abroad program. We're in over 36 countries, over 159 local cities here in the US, over 8 regions. So something really cool that our students did in 2024 is they actually went, some of them from our PR department, that's public relations, some of our students from our communications department, some of our students from our business department, and even our kinesiology department went to Paris to do Olympic coverage, to experience what it was like to be in the midst of all of the amazing athletics and the amazing things that are happening during the Olympics. So what an opportunity, right? And just one example of the many opportunities for you to go abroad, get some college credits that count towards your graduation with us at Cal State Fullerton, and really experience something that in any other situation you never would. You meet people you never thought you'd meet. You experience things you never thought you would. You're on the other side of the world while people are going to bed here. Life is happening over there. And really something that, even though I didn't have the opportunity to do study abroad when I was an undergrad, something I really wish I did was go to my study abroad office and see what they did have for me. And so even for all of you, wherever you go, Cal State Fullerton or not, I would really encourage you to check out what opportunities there are for study abroad and out of state as well. And you can scan this QR code in the top right corner, maybe top left, depending on how the screen looks for you, to learn more about those opportunities with study abroad as well. Admission requirements. Now we're really getting into the weeds of things here, and I will kind of slow down. I know I talk pretty fast sometimes, but I will slow down here and break these requirements down for you because they are pretty simple, okay? So we'll start from top and go down to the bottom here. So first of all, as a first-time freshman that's coming right out of high school and no community college classes, these are the things we will need from you. First, we'll need your high school diploma or equivalent. Second, we'll need you to complete the 15-unit A through G pattern with a C minus or higher. You may be wondering, what's the A through G pattern? That's about 90% of the classes you're taking right now. And we'll have a slide, I think it's the next slide, breaking down what those A through Gs are. And you'll say, oh, I took that, oh, I took that. Or if you didn't, you'll know kind of what you have to wrap up as your high school time is coming to a close. Because I know that we do have a mix of juniors and seniors in here. And if we have anybody who's freshman or sophomore, great for you too. And I would encourage you just to log in again when you're getting on those junior, senior years, because of course, information may change as you are going through the next few years of high school. Also, we would encourage you to earn a competitive MFAS score if you're able to. I will have a slide also breaking down with that MFAS score as well. And for any of the programs listed under additional requirements, you just have to know, apart from what you see above here, there may be a couple more things we're looking for. And I can kind of break those things down too. So for computer engineering, that really awesome blended BS to MS program, it's going to be a higher GPA. So typically for our students, our first-time freshmen, I recommend as long as you're in that 3.0 range or above, that's really going to give you a fair shot with most of our general programs. For the computer engineering blended BS MS, I'd say you want to shoot a little higher, maybe even 3.2 at a minimum and higher than that. That's a guarantee, a safe spot within that program. But for programs like music and dance and theater, of course, there are going to be some audition portions. We want to see what you got and see if you're a fit for our program. And of course, for nursing, if we have any nursing students out there, there are a couple of requirements for you, GPA requirements, as well as the specific course requirements. But I would say, regardless of your program, you really just want to get familiar with anything that is required of you, even if it's just the basic four things that you see above the additional requirements line. You want to know the program they're getting into from top to bottom, because that's really going to guarantee you success in the admission process, just being familiar with everything that you need to know, even if what you need to know is just the basics, or if there's a little more. So that's our admission requirements for our first year students. Here are those A through Gs I was talking to you all about. So history, social science, English, math, lab science, language other than English, that's your LOTE, visual performing arts, and college prep. So classes like health and PE, those are classes that will not count towards your A through G requirements. So you may see that discrepancy in your GPA, your CSU GPA versus your transcript GPA, because classes, again, like health and PE will not count. And classes, if you're taking any APs, IBs, those classes are going to award you a little more points if you're doing well in those courses as well and getting those good scores in your APs and IB courses. Here's that multi-factor admission score that we're looking at. So for the academic requirements, we kind of break it down and separate them a little bit. So we do look at your GPA overall first, but then we also look at your specific GPAs in English and in math. So we really want to see how you're doing in those areas. We also do provide institutional commitments to some of our schools that are partnered with us. I'll have to go ahead and confirm when this meeting is over if you are one of our partnership schools. But no worries if you're not, as long as you're doing great and you're kind of working on those requirements, killing it in those A through G's, you're still going to have a great chance with us. The multi-factor admission, it's important, but again, the real bread and butter and really what we want to see is going to be those GPAs. And we have a couple other applicant attributes that are going to benefit your profile. If you're a first gen student, that's the first in your family to pursue college or pursue higher education outside of high school. If you're going to be the first to complete that bachelor's degree upon your graduation, other things like if you receive free and reduced lunch, if you do utilize any youth services, if you're a foster youth, orphan, ward of the court, these are things that you can identify on your profile that are going to benefit your multi-factor admission. But even if you don't have some of these things at the bottom, they're not going to deter your admission at all. They're just going to be supporters to your admission. And even then, what we're doing when you click these things and when you let us know you have these things is we're also making sure that the resources that we have are helpful to you and our future students coming in as well. So anything else regarding the MFES score, if you wanted to learn more, you could, of course, ask me a couple of questions at the end, but you could also scan the QR code that we have in the top corner here as well. I'm just doing a quick time check. We're at 10 minutes till, and that's great. All right, moving forward here. So local area, as I said, we do have local area admission. So we do prioritize students who are in our local area. So even for you all, even if we don't fall within our county constraints, what this essentially means is even for as it compares to you guys to maybe students higher up in Northern California, we will go on to admit students from our local areas and down here in Southern California more than those schools that are kind of going to be in the farther areas. So all to your benefit here. And excuse me for those incorrect numbers earlier. I know that I did note a 3.3 earlier, but it does look like we have an update as of this past August that we have a really strong admitted rate. That's at 87.3 with an average of a 3.61 GPA. So still, even with those numbers in mind, I would say as long as you're going to be that student in a 3.0 range or above, you do have a fair shot with most of our general programs. So I would encourage you to feel encouraged to apply to us at Cal State Fullerton and across our CSU friends. All right, transfer students, because we do accept transfer students as well. So maybe you're here today and you already know that you're going to go through the community college system. Maybe you want to save a couple of dollars doing it that way. And honestly, that's great. I was a transfer student myself and I was great. It was to my benefit, really going through community college, taking my time and really finding out what I wanted to do and for any of our students here who are interested in the community college pathway, just know that the requirements for you are pretty simple as well as our first year requirements. For our transfer students, all you need to know is the following, that we do not accept lower division transfers. We only accept students who have 60 or more transferable units or 90 quarter transferable units. This is because as I noted earlier, we are an impacted campus. So by only allowing in students who are upper division transfers, as that 60 or more will note you as, we are guaranteeing you that graduation within 2 years. So really important there because if you want to apply as a freshman, I'd highly encourage that. But the moment you take a community college course, you will be considered a transfer and will be ineligible to apply to us until you've reached that 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units. So super important for you all to know there. Some other qualifying admission requirements, excuse me, is the Golden Four. So these are four basic courses that we need from you to have completed with a C minus or better to be qualified as a transfer student. So that's going to be oral communication. That's going to be a class like public speaking or intro to communication. A written communication class, that'll be English composition typically. For critical thinking, that's going to be a critical thinking class or even an ethics class. And for math and quantitative reasoning, essentially any course from collegiate algebra up to statistics and even beyond that. So for qualifying GPA, the numbers kind of do mirror what we talked about a couple minutes ago for our first-time freshmen. But our qualifying GPA for transfers is actually a 3.3, and our acceptance rate is a 75.7. So really, again, as long as you are in that 3.0 range, maybe working up to a 3.0, that really will give you a fair shot with most of those general programs. We also note that you must be in good standing at the last college or university attended as a transfer student, essentially eligible for re-enrollment to classes at that college is what good standing is. And then again, kind of mirroring the additional requirements for the first-time freshman, going to be the same thing for our dance, music, nursing, and theater. But you'll notice here that the accelerated program, the BS to MS in computer engineering, is not offered to our transfer students. That is solely for our first-time first-year students. So important again for you all to note there. Okay. Perfect. We're getting into the last 7 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this all up for you. Some financial resources. I'm really proud to tell you all that of the college systems that we are super cost effective at the CSU, but we also do have some really great financial resources here for you on the screen. Things like scholarships, of course, the FAFSA, and even the California Dream Act. So just to put some numbers on your radar, if you're commuting to our campus, just going to be shy of $8,000 for the full academic year. If you are living on campus, depending on if you're in our dorms, suites, apartments, the price can range from anywhere from I'd say 18 to $19,000. That includes, excuse me, a room and board, and of course that meal plan. But typical financial aid award amounts, I've seen students get anywhere from 6,000 upwards of $10,000. So depending on if you're commuting to campus, living on campus, it really will help you out. And again, I really want to emphasize the scholarship resources. If you are a student today that has a high scoring GPA, we want to reward you for that hard work. And you'd be surprised how many scholarship resources there are for you as a student with a high scoring GPA in the amounts of maybe 500 per semester, 2,500 for the full academic year, even upwards of $5,000. Really, I'd encourage any student here tonight who has been working hard these past 4 years, has a high scoring GPA, that within even Cal State Fullerton and outside resources, you're going to find a lot of scholarship resources for you guys. Okay. And I do want to emphasize our Center for Scholars. So we do have a program on campus that really does assist students with finding the best resources for them. And we are open to all students, undergraduate students, transfer students, and graduate students. And even if you don't necessarily identify as a foster youth, or if you don't identify as a first gen student, we have those merit-based scholarships as well, and a lot of other scholarships apart from these three on the screen. So real quick, I'd tell you all to note if you're interested in this at Cal State Fullerton Center for Scholars, because it's a really great resource for you to see what else we have to offer for you as far as those resources go and paying for that college time. All right, so this is a reminder for you all, for my seniors here. The Cal State application is open. It's open now until December 1st. I would also encourage you, don't rush it. You know, we don't prioritize anyone who applies earlier than those who apply later. Literally, once it closes on December 1st, we're just going to start reviewing those apps. So I always tell students, take your time with it and at least get it done before Thanksgiving so you're not rolling over your Thanksgiving leftovers, kind of clicking through things and adding things. As long as you get it done before Thanksgiving, you're going to be in a good standing with that application as well. And I want to invite you all to join us for any of our webinars. We do have a webinar series going on. Any of the past sessions from October 7th up through the 14th. These were all recorded and I believe should be on our YouTube page now. So for any student interested in nursing and wanted to learn a little more, you can go to our YouTube page and learn more about that. If you want to maybe hear another highlights, maybe not as fun as mine, I'm just kidding, but another version of the highlights presentation, you can tune into that session on our YouTube page as well. But as you can see, we have a lot of sessions going on for the next few weeks. And even on the 21st, any student who needs support with their application and finishing that up can join us, get that application support, and get that thing submitted even then as well. All right. Feel free to take a picture of this. I'll hold out for a second if anyone wants to take any other photos or scan any of the codes. Great. And we're going to move forward here. And our fall open house. Hope to see a lot of you there. This is a great opportunity, really. If you're on the fence about us, if you really want to know what we're about, this is the event to get to. You can hear everything from the presentation, but you really got to get to campus and get a feel for it, get a feel for the campus life, get a feel for the staff and faculty and the students that are you're going to call your friends and your academic family if you do decide to join us for your 2 to 4 years. So it is our open house. It is a free event. We do invite you to bring your families, your supporters, your friends. You can meet the specific academic colleges that you're interested in. You could take a tour of our campus, and you can really just experience life as a Titan. We do have some free swag for you, so first come, first serve for that. And we really hope to see you then. If you want, you could scan this QR code in the bottom corner to RSVP for our fall open house. I know there's a couple open houses going on the 25th. I just found out today our friends at Northridge are having theirs, our friends at Channel Islands, and even a couple of CSUs. But I do hope you choose to come to ours. And if you do happen to see me, come over and tell me, hey, I chose to come here because you told me to, and I'll walk you over to that free swag table and get you something nice from those guys, just out of a token of my appreciation to you all. So hope to see you then. And even if you can't make it to our fall open house, we do have tours all year long. Every tour type you could think of, weekly tours, weekend tours, group tours, single tours, Spanish tours, even self-guided tours and virtual tours. So every option you're looking for, we do encourage you to check us out. And we're even on Amazon Prime, pretty cool. We filmed an episode for this show called The College Tour. So if you want to check us out on there, and we can kind of see a little peer into campus life and some of our student experiences through that show as well. Here's our department contact information. So I highly recommend you all take a picture of this slide here if you wanted to keep a contact information readily available for any of our teams. As you are going through your admissions process, you probably will be contacting some of these folks, our financial aid and admissions team and Titan Hub in particular, as you're going through those first stages. And then later on, maybe our orientation folks, and of course, us in our outreach and recruitment office for you as well. So that's our presentation for you today. I hope that you found some great information from that. We would love to stay connected with you, and we really do. I know it says it here, it's kind of redundant, but we really do value your feedback. So I would love if you scan this QR code here in the bottom. Let us know how we did in this presentation so that we can improve our resources for you later on, or even just go in there and say, hey, Nate was a blast. We loved him, and we make sure you keep him. That would really help me out too. I kid, but again, please take a picture of this slide if you want. Feel free to connect with us on Instagram, on YouTube, and see what else we have to offer you there. But with that being said, that was my presentation. And we'll look at that. We're at 6:29. So I did it for you all in less than 30 minutes. So super happy that we did that. And at this time, with everything that we just went through, I do want to open it up to questions for anyone, if anyone has any questions at all. And I'll hand it back to Laura for a sec too. Thanks, Laura.
Yes, thank you so much. So I will be pitching these questions to you. So
Sure.
could you give a little bit more information about the nursing school? How competitive is it? What are
Great.
you looking for?
Awesome.
If a student doesn't get in straight away, is there a pathway? And then maybe you could also just mention like the opportunities for nursing or transfer students that start at maybe a community college. Is there an opportunity
Sure.
to get into the nursing program?
Thank you, Laura, and whoever, and to all, because I know it's probably more than one that asked that question. So I thank you, and I'd say to all of our nursing students to be encouraged. It is a process. Nursing is one of our most popular programs, if not the most popular program. So just for some context, and I know that maybe the numbers will be discouraging, but I always like to share them out of transparency. So we have 40 spots in our cohort every year, every fall that we welcome students into. The great thing about that is for our first-time freshmen, most of the spots are going to be reserved for those first-time freshmen. We do reserve about 15 to 20 spots. Oh, no, excuse me, 10 to 15 spots for our transfers as well. So for the nursing process, we do have the unique direct entry nursing, which means for anyone here, whether you have experience in nursing or not, we will process your application, and you may find yourself on our campus as a nursing student. But what does it literally take to be a part of our nursing program? There are a couple things we're looking for. Of course, we want a high scoring GPA. I'd say at least in the 3.25 or above is going to be the best thing for you. And in those maybe those health science and those life science courses, we really want to see you excelling in those ways as well. And although it's not a requirement, if you're doing anything in the medical field, maybe any volunteer work at all, anything of that nature, those are really because we do work on a point scale in that application. those are really going to benefit your profile. So as for context, like I said, we do have 40 spots. Last year, we did have around 3,000 students apply for our nursing program. So it does bottleneck super quickly, right? But and again, whenever I talk to students on the road about this process, they hear those numbers, their face kind of goes low, they're super discouraged, but it really is a fair process. We do look at the academics, but the second half of it, and this is the half I love talking about, is the essay and interview portion. So, unlike any of our other programs, we don't have essays or PIQs for any of our other programs at all. But for nursing, there is an essay opportunity. And from the essay opportunity, there becomes an interview opportunity. And this is really where I think, and even speaking with our folks in the nursing department, students do not take advantage of the essay opportunity enough. We hear a lot of, I want to help people. That's great. You know, you should be, we're encouraged, but what we really want to hear is what inspired you to get into the nursing program? Maybe what you see yourself doing as you graduate from a program. And you know, really the more information you give us, what's really happening there is they're getting a sense of who you are. They're thinking of you in relation to this 40-person cohort. So when you give us that information, when you give us that story, because everyone here has a story, you really are giving more context for our admissions team in the nursing department to go off of. From that essay, you will move into the interview portion where you'll meet with some of our nursing staff, and they're kind of just going to ask you some questions about your interview, some questions, I mean, about your essay, maybe some personal questions about you. And again, another one of those opportunities where, you know, maybe nerves come up when you go into the interview process. I would encourage students, you know, take a breath, bring your best selves to it, but also know that they're looking for the authentic you. You don't have to feel too crafted. You don't have to feel, it's good to prepare, and preparation is always going to make the difference, but we're really looking for the authentic you. And I know that you hear the numbers, it is super discouraging, but I would again tell any student who is interested in our nursing program to feel encouraged, and that the more you're willing to be open with us about who you are and what called you to the practice, that's really what's going to guarantee you that spot. We have students who apply all the time, 4.0s and above, and that's great. But we really are looking for people who want to make an impact, not only in our program, but really in the field and make that difference. And like I said, I showed earlier, we do have the nursing webinar that happened pretty recently. I do believe there's a recording of that. But if any student even wants to meet with our nursing program, they do meet with prospective students. Unlike any of our other programs who do not meet with prospective students, students who are interested in that program can, and all they need to do is email nursing@fullerton.edu, let them know who they are, let them know that they're interested in our direct entry nursing pathway, and they'd be happy to meet with you. As it relates to our transfers, it's a little more bottlenecked, I'd say, for our transfers than our first-time freshmen. But again, some great opportunities there. We have two pathways for the transfer students. That's going to be the upper division transfer pathway with no nursing experience, as well as the RN to BSN pathway. So what I've seen from experience is that we do take a couple more students who go on the RN to BSN pathway than the upper division. And what's happening there is, again, we're just filling that cohort up with a different breadth of people who are coming in for their first time, from the first time and transfer level, and people who maybe from the RN have seen the world a little bit and can contribute in that space so that everyone kind of grows cohesively. So across our freshmen and our transfers, you'll hear this a lot in California with our nursing programs. They are super competitive, but again, feel encouraged, don't be discouraged, and really put your best foot out there and really give us the most of you that you can, because that will be the big difference maker in that application. Hope that answered the question okay for the nursing students.
Love that. Thank you so much, Nate.
Yes, of course.
Okay, we got a couple other big ones.
Sure.
So another question that's come up a couple times is this newly passed Senate Bill 640, the CSU direct admissions bill. I don't know if you've been briefed on that, but do you have information for families? Will that direct admission program apply to CSU Fullerton? Will it be for this year's seniors, or is that something that's going to take effect in the future, if even
I
you're applicable for Fullerton?
Sure. And that's a great question. I will say not for the current semester, probably in the next few. The only reason for us is we are an impacted campus. So we have a couple other campuses who have low impaction that already are guaranteeing admission right out the gate. And we do have a couple partnerships where we see that happening slowly, but it is going to be a slow burn for us since we do have a little more of an impaction. But yeah, that is something that I am aware of and that our campus and our team is aware of. And it's really great. So essentially, being able to, unlike we have before, kind of direct that path and kind of guarantee that admission for students who meet the certain criteria. It was different for us again before, right? Because we are impacted and we can never really guarantee it. But we really are about that access in the CSU system, and that is something. Thank you for asking this question to all the students who have that we will be rolling out, and we will be able to give more information out in the next few semesters. But for our current application cycle, that is not something that I do not think we are able to guarantee at this time. So a great question. Thank you again.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it too. Okay, great. And then you had talked a little bit about community college courses and status as a freshman applicant or transfer applicant.
Mhm.
In our high school district, we have a lot of students that do pursue some community college coursework. Could you clarify what the credit requirement, what that threshold is for students no longer to be considered freshman applicants? And does
Sure.
that apply for students who are taking those classes as full-time high school students? Just kind of clarifying that.
Sure. Yeah. So, great question. We do work with students across all schools in high school level who are concurrently taking college courses and to their benefit. And it really depending on, because I know some students will end up even receiving their associates before they even step out of high school, which is amazing. So we kind of treat them case by case in that. If you're a student that is receiving those classes while you're in high school, some of those may count towards your application, and you may find that what was supposed to be 4 years maybe is 3.5, maybe even 3 if you've been hustling hard. And for students who even go on to receive that associate's degree, we may process you as a transfer. You may receive those benefits, and we have what's called the associate's degree for a transfer. So a student maybe, for example, will receive their associates in business. Since we have a really strong business program, we will essentially, if you plan to do that with us, link you to that program and guarantee you graduation within 60 units. And you get a zero point 0.1 GPA bump on your application for receiving that associate's degree. So we really do treat that for our high school students case by case, depending on how many college courses they've taken. Sometimes if it's not too many, we'll kind of just count it towards their college classes on the transcript. But again, if they've received a good amount and they have that degree, they will be recognized for those accomplishments as well. Yes, another great question. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask an easier one.
Sure.
Nate, is there any two part? Is there any benefit to submitting your CSU application as early in the cycle as possible versus
Mhm.
waiting until you've confirmed that everything's accurate? Maybe come to the College and Career Center at your high
Mhm.
school to ask
Mhm.
somebody to look it over. So does it matter? Is there any benefit to applying early? And then part two of the question is, if you make a mistake on that app because you rushed it, can you change something on the
Sure.
application?
Sure. I love this question because first there really is no benefit to applying early. As once it closes, we kind of just treat it as the academic colleges, and we go through each application as that. So whether you applied on October 1st, sent it out, or whether you applied on December 1st, there really is no rush. And to the second question, once you submit it, that's it. Whatever you put on there is set in stone, and that's how we recognize you. So I would encourage you all. Really take your time with it. And you got to think about it through this lens, is that application is essentially your academic resume, right? You're applying to a job. It's sort of like your resume. And in a deeper sense, it's you giving yourself the credit for all the hard work you did throughout your 4 years. So I would encourage you, take your time with that. Go to your college and career centers, reach out to us, your CSUF and your CSU friends, because we really want to make sure that application accurately represents all the hard work you've done. Because again, once you submit it, that's it. You can reach out to our admissions team to reprocess information. What may happen is they may tell you you're gonna have to wait to appeal if anything comes back that looks a little iffy. So I'd encourage you all, don't feel like you need to rush through it. Again, my kind of thing is if you could get it done before Thanksgiving, that's going to kind of give you some peace of mind. But really, take your time, talk to all the great folks at your college and career center, and even reach out to us. Even if you want to tune into that workshop that we have on the 21st, you can go into a breakout room. One of us will look over the whole thing with you, and we'll kind of tell you, hey, we're good to go, or hey, what's that right there? That kind of looks a little iffy. Because again, you really want to give yourself the credit for all your hard work and make sure everything looks great on there. So I love, love, love that question because, we're in a time and place. It's like whoever's first, gets it. But with us, just we honor the deadline. So take the time with that and make sure everything looks good on your end. Thank you for that question too. Another great one.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, a different question. Can you speak to Fullerton, but also any of the other CSU campuses? Have you heard of any majors being closed to transfer students, where students can only be admitted to a certain major if they are admitted directly out of high school?
Yeah, so that's going to be things like the computer engineering, that blended BS to MS that is strictly for our first-time freshmen, and things like even like the direct entry nursing versus our upper division pathway. So the difference there is, when you're going to community college, there are going to be some specific courses that we are looking for. But coming in as a first-time freshman, we're just going to be making sure that in the areas of the science and the health, maybe that you excelled a bit, but really with little to no experience, you could come in and if everything is right and the cards fall in the right place on your application, come to us as a direct entry student with no experience. But apart from those two programs, everything else is pretty much fair game between the freshmen and the transfers. The only thing I will say for transfers is not every major accepts an application in the spring, whereas in the fall, all of our majors will accept applications. So, of course, programs like nursing will not accept spring applications and other programs as well that I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's one of those things where once you're going to the application cycle, if you are a transfer doing that, you may notice, oh, I can't find my program. It may not be offered during the springtime, whereas in the fall, we offer them all. So that's a great question. I love that one too.
Just to clarify from my own understanding, is there a computer science option at Fullerton that is not that accelerated BS?
Yeah.
It's
So we do have the basic computer science program, and we do have a specific concentration in cybersecurity as well. So you learn ethical hacking, dealing with AI, things like that. So we do have the awesome blended pathway, but it's not the only pathway. And we also have the not only computer science, but the computer engineering pathway as well. So software and hardware kind of perspectives on the computer science.
and those are both open to transfer students.
Yes, that's correct.
I'm
Yes.
just underscoring that. So
Yeah.
I think our community, we have a lot of STEM interested students. So just
Oh,
to make it
great.
clear, there's two very specific programs that
Mhm.
do not take freshman applicants, but there are similar programs that do take transfer students.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
slightly different. Okay,
Sure.
great.
And I will even say to that too, for all my STEM interest students, that we are currently updating our engineering building. So for any student applying now for us for next fall, you're going to have a brand new building for your major to be housed in, and a lot of stuff going on that's really great in our engineering department. Collaborations with NASA, SpaceX, Boeing, things like that. So you could find yourself doing some really awesome work across all of our STEM programs. So really encouraged to hear that you got a lot of STEM students at your school. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, another one. When you're reporting middle school coursework, there's a question about the title that the middle school used for that math course. Should the person enter it exactly as the middle school said it, or could they just say Algebra 1 because that's the content that was covered?
Yeah, they can just put it as Algebra 1. And something I really want to emphasize this too is like we want to see all the information as, T's crossed, I's dotted as we can on the application. But what's really important for you all to know is to make sure you express and don't take yourself out of eligibility because you're not sure if something will clear or not. My best advice to you is navigate it with clarity and as much confidence as you can, but never like, oh, I'm not sure, so I'm just not going to count it. We want to see it. And if it comes to that, our admissions team needs to reach out, ask questions and correct something or clarify something, they'll do that. And at the end of the day, we are requesting those official transcripts. So we are going to see it all in that black and white too. So as long as, everything mirrors the transcript as much as it can, you're all going to be just fine and dandy with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that really quickly. For students that are completing the app, if you type slowly and you type the beginning of the course as it's listed on your MVLA transcript, then our courses are in the system and then they'll auto-populate.
Oh, that's great.
So just go slow and for example, I had a student entering English one, their ninth grade English, but at our school it's called survey. And so when they started
Mhm.
typing ENG, it didn't show up, but I said type in SUR for survey, and
You
then
see it.
the drop down showed up. So for
Mhm.
our high school students, just make sure you type slowly and use the course title as it shows up on your ARIES or on your transcript. Okay, and Nate, could you talk to us a bit? There's a new section on the CSU app that says to and through and for. And then there's a question that says like yes or no, do you want to be considered for this program? Are you familiar with that question on the app?
I'm not too familiar with the 2 through and 4, but I can kind of look into that a little bit and get some more information for you that
Okay.
on the back end. I apologize about that.
No, not to
Yeah.
put you on the spot. I know it's like very
No.
new. We've been telling students that you can click yes, but I was curious if you had more
Mhm.
insight, but no worries.
Yeah,
Also,
no, sorry, go ahead, please, please,
we
please.
can follow up. We can follow up later. I'll
Yeah,
be sending out
absolutely.
the recording to families, and we can put a link in there on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But another question for you. Could you talk a little bit about political science at Fullerton? Is that a very competitive major, or just if you have any insights on that specific major?
Sure. Well, poli-sci is a great program for us, housing our humanities and social sciences. We have students who go into that program, whether they see themselves getting into politics, getting into law, getting into teaching. Maybe they're preparing themselves to go into law school after they've completed their program with us. And the great thing about the program is, although we're an impacted campus overall, poli-sci is not an impacted program. So as long as you, again, are meeting those requirements, you have that strong GPA. Our policy program would be encouraged to have you all in that program, and a lot of great things going on with our poli sci folks as well. So thank you for that. Another great question there too.
Well, you've just done such an amazing job, so efficient. If anybody has any additional questions for Nate, I'm going to give you another minute or two to type those into the Q&A. If not, what we'll do is thank Nate profusely for his time and amazing information. And then we'll just hang on until 7 p.m. when we're going to switch over to our UC component of the evening. So I'll give everyone like maybe a minute or two more. And then Nate, if those questions come through, I will pitch them to you. Otherwise, then we'll wrap up the CSU component for tonight.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
And I don't know if I have the ability to type in my email and my number here, but I just wanted to make sure everyone had that. I'm trying to find the chat box if I could find that. What I'll do is, Laura, you have my information,
Yeah.
so you are more than welcome to share that. All this to all you awesome students here. You may be saying, before this, I didn't have anyone in the CSU to talk to, so why even bother? You do. Now you do. So there's no excuse to say you don't have a CSU plug. Even if you're interested in our friends at Long Beach, our friends at LA, our friends at San Diego, I'd be happy to liaison you over to them. We're just encouraged across the CSU to have all you great students doing what you do, and I would encourage you all. Apply to us, apply to the UCs, keep going with the school thing. It's so important to have you all inspired and to go on to do the great things that you do, because no pressure, but we need you.
We do need you.
That's my little spiel there in case there are any other questions coming up.
Okay, so here's a good question. Um,
Great.
uh, do when you said we're going to check the transcripts, just to clarify, you're going to be looking for high school coursework, but you're
Mhm.
not going to be auditing for the middle school transcript.
No,
Yeah,
no. Sometimes, and we've seen this, and maybe you've seen it too, that some of the courses from middle school will roll over to the high school transcript.
we do
Um,
not do that.
okay, yeah. So we will not be looking at the middle school transcripts, mainly just the high school for the students.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, for MVLA, we don't put the middle school math courses on our transcript.
Hmm. Hmm.
But students that have completed those courses, we encourage you to list them. If your school did Common Core grading, you can just put it as a pass. And then through your high school coursework, you're demonstrating to the CSU that you've fulfilled those requirements. So let's say you took Algebra 1 in eighth grade, then you took Geometry, Algebra 2 in high school. The CSU is going to know that you finished your math required math sequence. It's not going to be like we got to contact the middle school for that transcript.
Hmm.
They know that you've completed geometry and algebra 2 at the high school level. You got that C minus or higher. You've met the requirement. It's the concern is not about that algebra 1 class,
Hmm.
right? Okay. I think that's it for the Q&A. Um,
Great.
Nate, if you want, do you want to talk about the merge between Cal Poly and CSU Maritime, or do we not want to talk about that?
We could talk about it. So I think a great thing is that we did have that merger. So we were 23 campuses. We are now at 22 campuses, and Maritime is essentially going to be our satellite campus in the Vallejo area. Nothing has really changed apart from just the name. So all the great programs we were offering at Maritime, we will still be offering under the Cal Poly name. If you're interested in getting out in the water, getting out in the ocean, doing any travel, that is one of the requirements for any student who goes through the Maritime camp or the Pol. See, I'm even slipping on it now. The Cal Poly campus. So a really, really great campus there and a really great staff they have going on there. Not too much to say on that apart from those great things, but if anyone has any questions in the post and want to talk to me directly or anything like that, I'm very happy to connect with you all, whether it's on the phone, over Zoom, via email. I'm happy to do it all with you all.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Well,
you.
Nate, you truly have been awesome. We so
Oh,
appreciate your
thank you.
time. Folks that are in the webinar, if you want to take a break and come back at 7, that's where we're going to roll over to the UC component of tonight, and that is going to start in about 8 minutes. So thank you again, Nate. Have a wonderful evening. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Laura.
you.
Thank you. And thank you all so much, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Laura has my contact info. So if any of you want to have an extended conversation or just ask some questions, I'd be very happy to do that. But thank you so much, Laura, for this opportunity. CSUF is very happy to continue this partnership with you in the future going on as well. But thanks, everybody. And thank you, Laura. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Take care.
All right, everybody. And then we're going to start with the UC component of the evening in about 8 minutes. Hi, Jeanette. So great to have you.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And I think if you're okay, we'll start in about 8 minutes, just because when
Yeah,
students and families are expecting us to start.
yeah, sounds good. Should I start sharing screen
Yeah,
now
you can.
or
Sure.
okay, let me go ahead and do that just to make sure it works.
Yeah.
That should be good. Alrighty, then
I-
we'll get started in like 7-ish minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. Everyone, thank you so much for being here for the MVLA, CSU, and UC Information Night. We wrapped up our CSU component of the evening, and now we're going to transition into the University of California component. We're so lucky to have Jeanette with us tonight from UC Irvine to give us an overview of the system and then some campus-specific details. Jeanette, if it's okay with you, I will give you Q&A when you finish your presentation. And we just really appreciate your time. Participants, you can drop your questions in the Q&A. And again, we'll cover those at the end. And if you would like to listen to this in Spanish, you can click the Spanish translation button globe on the bottom right-hand corner, and we are live translating into Spanish. And with that, Jeanette, I will let you take over.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It does really make me happy to see such a large participant count so late in the evening. So I do truly appreciate you all for being here and your commitment and dedication to your students and higher education. This process can be a little daunting, so I'm hopeful that with the information that I shared today, it'll make the University of California feel a little more approachable and a little more understandable as you navigate that process. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jeanette Sanders. I'm a senior admissions counselor for UC Irvine. Today's presentation for you all, I'm going to try to keep it brief in the presentation section just to allow some time for those questions at the end. But the idea is I will go over the University of California system, the application process, first year admission. I'll also talk a little bit about transfer admission. I'll talk a little about tuition and financial aid information that you should be aware of as you navigate our campuses. And then I'll talk about some campus resources as well as a little highlight reel of UC Irvine and what we have going on my campus with, again, just some general information about the University of California system. You'll find that the University of California system and the CSU system, if you were here a little bit earlier to hear from Nate from Fullerton, there will be quite a bit of similarities here with what we do. But we are two very different systems, very distinct systems, and there are going to be a couple differences. So my goal is to kind of highlight those and talk about the things that you should know as we consider the University of California. You may know already, we are a system of 9 undergraduate campuses across the state of California. Our northernmost campus is UC Davis, and we'll go as far south as UC San Diego, located in La Jolla, California. So you can't really go wrong. All of us have fantastic offerings. A lot of really great things happen at the University of California. For example, we are all top-tier research institutions. We are research powerhouses here at the University of California, which is a huge part of our campus culture for our students. We all will have plenty of academic opportunities for our students, lots of different like study abroad, internship, volunteer opportunities for students to take advantage of as well. The key differences is that because we have different geographical locations, that will also create a couple of differences in the academic programs or even just the resources that would be available around our campus. Big thing to know, if you're right by the water, you'll have some marine sciences, some marine biology. If you have some wide open spaces around you, you might have more opportunities for that agricultural bugs, things like that, just to study a little bit of a different type of climate since you are in a different environment overall. We are a publicly funded university as well, so we have a lot, like I said, of the same key features that you would find across the CSU system as well. At UC Irvine, at the University of California, most of our students are going to be California resident. We do serve primarily the state of California and try to mirror our campus bodies to have a student population that would closely mirror the state of California as well. On our campus, a lot of our students will be first generation students. So about 36% of the students across the entire University of California system are going to be first generation students. And we are also transfer friendly campuses. About 26% of the students at our UCs are going to be transfer students from the California Community College system. So there are plenty of ways to get to us, and there's plenty of resources for once you're with our campuses. When you're considering the University of California, like I mentioned, some of us are going to have things that are going to be identical. We all have biology. We all have some type of engineering, right? We're going to have some of those key things in common, but we may have a couple things that are going to be different and a couple support programs or resources that are going to be a little different. So keep that in mind as you consider the University of California and primarily keep your mind open about the University of California system. Some of us will have a little bit of a different reputation than others. Some of us have been around for much longer than others. And so those are just things to keep in mind and consider. However, do keep an open mind. Like I said, the entire system, we consider ourselves sister campuses. We're going to share a lot of what we have to offer for our students. We'll have a lot of things in common. We're all research powerhouses. So there's definitely a lot within the University of California system that will be the same among our campuses. But it is important for our students as they're considering that college search process to just keep in mind where we're located and what we have going on around our campus. A couple things to help make it a little easy for you. The University of California shares a UC application. So it's one application for all 9 of our campuses. You will not find us on the CSU application. You will not find us in the Common App. So we have our own application system, but it's one application for all 9 of our campuses. You just kind of check off which campus you would like your application to be sent to. Our campuses are going to be $8 per UC campus that you select if you are a California resident, $95 if you're an international applicant per campus that you are selecting on that UC application. If you qualify for the fee waiver, you get 4 of our campuses for free. So we'll cover the application fee for up to 4 campuses. You don't need to apply to 4, but we'll cover that cost for up to 4 should you qualify for that UC application fee waiver. That UC application fee waiver is built into the UC application. As you fill out that About You section and navigate into the campuses and majors section, it will let you know if you qualified for the fee waiver or not. Just make sure if you qualify, you select, yes, I would like to use it as you're checking out, as you're hitting that submit button. If you don't qualify for the UC application fee waiver, we will also accept fee waivers from NACAC and College Board. Go ahead and let your counselors know, or ask with your counselors to see if they have any of those fee waivers available, and they can help you out with getting those mailed into the UC Office of the President. All right, let's talk first year admission and kind of what there is to know about the admissions process. So a first year applicant, and I know Nate kind of talked about this as well during his presentation. A first year applicant and a first year student is a student who will be applying to us while they're currently in high school, or maybe they've already graduated high school but have not attended a college or university during a regular non-summer term after high school graduation. So essentially, big question is, have you or have you not graduated from high school? If you have not graduated from high school yet, you are applying for first year admission. If you have graduated from high school and you're also taking either community college classes, maybe university courses during a non-summer term, you are now a transfer applicant. So a first year student, let's say you are earning college credit while you're in high school, you're doing those dual enrollment courses, you can still be considered a first year applicant if you have not graduated from high school. So you'll be applying for first year admission to our campus. Okay, minimum requirements are really simple. The only things we need here are your A through G courses to be completed with a C or better, and for a student to earn a UC GPA of a 3.0 or better, or a 3.4 if the student is applying to us from outside the state of California. What are those A through G requirements? You should be fairly familiar with these at this point, but if you're not, this is a little glimpse of what these are. They're also listed on our website for you to review, as well as different ways that they can be satisfied or met. And all of that is going to be on our website for you to take a look at. And ways that you can meet these requirements. These are also the exact same A through G requirements that the CSU system is going to look at. What I do want to highlight here, because I noticed on Nate's slides a little bit of a discrepancy here. We're looking for a grade of a C or better. Keep in mind that the University of California does not look at plus or minus grading for first year students. So a C is a C, a B is a B, and an A is an A. So we're looking for that C or better in these A through G courses in order to be considered as UC eligible. A through G courses are going to be completed 9th through 12th grade. Some will be completed in that senior year. Some, I know we were talking about that math in 7th and 8th grade. Some can be completed outside of that. So if a student is meeting math or language other than English, LOTE, outside of 9th through 12th grade, we just want to see that notated somewhere on the UC application so that we're aware of A through G completion. Now for UC GPA, the way that we consider our UC GPA is also going to be the same way that the CSU calculates GPA. So we're looking for at least a 3.0 for students who are applying from the state of California, a 3.4 if you are not attending school here in the state of California. You are encouraged to exceed this minimum requirement, and we'll talk about that selectivity as we move along. You should also look to exceed those minimum A through Gs where applicable. If any of you are families of students who are in 9th, 10th, or 11th, when you can still make a couple of suggestions into what courses to be taking and maybe consider a couple different courses to be taking, you can challenge yourself academically still through that A through G, as well as aiming for higher than the minimum UC GPA that we're looking for. Again, we're not looking at plus or minus grades for our GPA calculation, and we also only calculate out of 10th and 11th grade. So for 9th grade, we're going to look and just make sure you took A through G and that you passed A through G, but we're not going to use that to calculate our GPA. And we're also only going to use A through G courses. We will add up to 8 honor points for any honors courses that a student has completed. So honors classes, AP classes, if any of you have completed any IB curriculum, and then college level courses are all eligible to give you an honor point in your UC GPA calculation. Now, those are going to be the minimum requirements, but like I briefly mentioned, that does not mean that you are automatically selected for admission to our campus. So that will come down to selection, which is the way that the University of California reviews and considers students for admission to our campus. Selection can vary campus by campus, while our minimum requirements are going to be the same for every single UC. So all of us are looking for that A through G. All of us are looking for that 3.0. Those are going to be the same requirements. We also, I want to highlight, we do not look at SAT or ACT to make any admissions considerations. We have not since 2020, and we do not have any plans to either re-include that into our review or replace it with anything at this point. So SAT and ACT are not part of our review right now. And that will be consistent for all 9 of our undergraduate campuses. Now, again, our review process will be individual to each campus. So I will not be calling up any of my other UC campuses to see if your student applied, what their major was, what they're thinking, if they're going to admit them or not. We're just going to do our own individual review, and we will make our own admissions consideration based on the 13 different factors that we can consider through comprehensive review. Let's talk about those. Comprehensive review is a review process that the University of California uses. So for our review process, we're looking at more than just academic achievement. While that's a large factor, it is a big part of what we're looking for. It's not the only thing that we consider. Here at UC Irvine, we do a holistic review. Quite a few of us will do a holistic review. And what that means is that every single factor that you see listed here on this screen is going to weigh equally in my admissions consideration, and not a single consideration will weigh more or less than any other when I'm making my review. So GPA, the rigor of your curriculum, any academic achievements that you have, any academic opportunities you've taken advantage of, we'll be looking at that. We're going to look to see if you're part of any honors programs, special projects, if you've been a part of any educational prep programs, things like AVID, or maybe like the college bound programs that may be at your school. Any personal school or family context that a student shares with us in the UC application is also part of our admissions review. We really want to understand the context that a student is applying to us from. We'll look for special talents, skills, awards, or any demonstrated leadership. That's kind of a big part for us. We'll find leadership in a lot of different ways from our applicants. That's a huge part of what we're looking for. And the big thing that we're looking for here on our campuses is we need students that can be leaders, self-starters, time management, those kinds of skills. And then we also want to know about their life experiences or any special circumstances that they're facing or have overcome. Again, all of this is going to weigh equally in our admissions review process. Not a single one of these factors would guarantee that a student is admitted to my campus or guarantee that they're not going to get admitted to my campus. Now, we are going to learn quite a bit about you in different areas of the UC application. In the activities and awards area, this is where we learn quite a bit of information. It's also a very underutilized part of the UC application. So, if you're going to take anything from today's presentation, specifically about the UC application, especially if you are a senior student or a family of a senior student, please, please, please encourage your students and students be empowered to really utilize this activities and awards section to include as much information as possible about what we're looking for here. So you have opportunities to add awards and honors, the programs that you're a part of, any extracurricular that you're involved in, any other coursework that you've taken that's not A through G. This could be like any CTE coursework that you're taking. Maybe you've taken some courses at your local community college that likely are not UC transferable, but still important for something that you're interested or passionate about. Include that here. Tell us about any volunteer community service work that you've done, any work experience that you may have, any responsibilities that you have in your household. And then make sure that you really utilize that description box area for every single one of these that you add. The UC application is entirely self-reported, and I know I've been in your shoes and I have helped many students through this process. This time and this part of the UC application can be very time consuming, but please, it is in your best interest to really put some time in this area because, again, we're going to learn quite a bit about you from this area. The other really large section of the UC application is going to be those personal insight questions. You've likely heard this before, the PIQs that we all talk about. This is going to be a great way for us to get to know you a little bit better. There are 8 different prompts to pick from. For those of you who have 9th, 10th, or 11th graders at home, the PIQs really don't change. The UC is kind of a creature of habit. We've had our personal insight questions around since 2016, I want to say. So we really haven't made any changes to these questions. They work really well for us. We learn exactly what we need to learn about our applicants from these questions. So if you wanted to start getting an idea of what we might be asking about, what kind of information we're looking for, you're welcome to start taking a look now. Seniors and families of seniors, I really hope we have some drafted personal insight question responses. Don't put too much pressure on here. These are not going to be essays. They're not like a formal written project or anything like that. Think about it more as like an opportunity to be interviewed by the UC campus. Since we cannot call you for an interview, we won't be reading letters of recommendation. We also won't be emailing you for any follow-up information. Everything that you need us to know needs to be in these personal insight questions. They all hold equal value. Pick whichever 4 of the 8 questions you feel you can give the best response for. You get a maximum of 350 words. No minimums here, but most students who have a good, thorough response sit within that 200, 250, 300 range of word count. So just make sure that your response is thorough and really kind of covers everything that the question is asking. Focus primarily on content. Specifically, make sure that it is personal and that it gives insight, since those are the 2 big things that we're looking for here in these responses. Also, keep in mind the personal insight questions, while of course they are part of admission selection, they can also be used for scholarship consideration. So it is important to kind of dedicate some time to make sure those personal insight questions give us as much information as possible to really get to know you as a student and as an applicant. Now let's talk about eligibility in the local context. I've kind of talked about how the University of California is a publicly funded university system. I also talked about how many California residents we have on our campus. University of California, and some of you in the room may have already received a notification from University of California recognizing you as being among the top 9% of your graduating class at your high school. And congratulations, that's a huge achievement. Eligibility in the local context is something that is part of our review here in the University of California system. It does not mean that you're guaranteed admission to any of our campuses. Again, it's not going to be anything that means that if you have this, you're in. If you don't have it, you're not. All this means is that it's something else that could add value to your UC application. It's something else that can give you give us something else to consider on that UC application and kind of consider your context and your success within your context as we consider you in the UC application. We have tons of information about ELC on our websites, but the short answer to the way that ELC works, because usually I get asked, does this mean I'm guaranteed admission to UC Berkeley, for example, or UCLA or UC Irvine? The short answer is no, it does not mean you're guaranteed admission to maybe your top choice campus. But it does mean that if a student applies to the University of California and selects their preferred campuses, maybe they're applying to 2, 3, or 4 campuses, but they are not offered admission to any one of our campuses. The student is not has not accepted an offer of admission or is set to enroll at any one of our campuses. They may receive an offer from the University of California at a campus that may still have capacity to admit an additional student. So if you are an ELC student, if you apply to UC campuses, but you are not admitted, at that point, the University of California may reach out to you and offer you admission to a campus. However, it may not be to the campus of your choice, and it may not be with the major of your choice. If you have more questions about that, again, our website kind of has a full breakdown of what this looks like, and we're always happy to help answer any questions that could come up with this process. Let's talk first year admission timeline. For those of you in the room who are, again, seniors, families of seniors, let's keep in mind the UC application is open now for students to start filling out. You can start hitting to submit as early as today if you're ready. However, don't rush to submit. You have until December 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time for this year only. We are extending to December 1st because November 30th, our usual deadline, is a Sunday this year, and we wanted to allow at least one extra business day for students to be able to use that time to fill out their application. Hopefully nobody's rushing to fill it out on the very last day. Or if there are any technical difficulties that need to be addressed, we're giving you that extra business day to reach out to us or the Office of the President should you need any technical difficulty support with that UC application. So you submit between October 1st and December 1st. The University of California does not do any early action, early admissions, or rolling admissions of any kind. So there's no rush to submit now versus submitting on November 17th. But we do encourage you to not wait until the very end just to make sure that you're not risking any technical difficulties that could arise or occur as we get closer to that deadline. Now, we also encourage students to apply for FAFSA and or the DREAM applications. If they are available to you, make sure that you fill that out by the priority deadline for California aid. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that remains March 2nd this year. So we're encouraging you to fill that out. That way we can consider you for any scholarships or grants or anything like that that the University of California can offer. We'll let you know if you got admitted sometime in the month of March. Yay! And then if you were admitted and you decide you want to come to a UC campus, you'll accept your offer of admission or submit your intent to register, SIR, by May 1st. May 1st is our deadline at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And then once you're all done with that, yay, you'll send us official and final transcripts by July 1st. And then you'll send us any official AP, IB exam results by July 15th. So those are our 2 summer deadlines. Don't worry, you'll hear those plenty of times, especially if you SIR to our campuses. We will let you know and make sure that we're getting all of your formal documentation on time. Now, transfer admission. This is, again, an opportunity for students who have graduated from high school and plan to attend another college or university before getting to our campus. Most of our transfer students are coming from the California Community College system. So that Foothill or De Anza College, if you wanted to attend there before you transfer over to us, that would be a fantastic option. The minimum requirements for transfer admission, the 3 that are going to be the same across the board for the UCs. This is going to be our 7-course pattern, at least 60 semester units of transferable credit. Those of us attending Foothill or De Anza, that'll be that 90 quarter units of transferable credit. And then we're going to look for a UC GPA of at least a 2.4. Now, this is just to consider you for admission. Realistically, you should be aiming for that 3.0 or above on the transfer side in order to have a strong opportunity of being admitted to our campuses, especially here at UC Irvine. We're looking for that 3.0 or above. Now let's talk 7 course pattern. These are going to be available on our website as well, so nothing for you to memorize. But this is kind of the transfer equivalent of the A through G courses. This is kind of the easiest way to describe what we're looking for here. We need 2 English classes, 1 math class, and then 4 classes will come out of the following 3 subject areas. We need students to touch at least 2 of these 3 subject areas, and those would be arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, physical and biological sciences. We do encourage students to complete that math and the English portion of the 7 course pattern as early as possible in their academic career, but not required. But we do just encourage you to kind of get started on that. That way, you're ensuring that those are completely done by the time we're moving into the rest. Now, what will be different with the UC applications is that all of us, again, because we're going to have some different majors, and we don't have all of our faculty on the same page, we're going to have a little bit of different major preparation. And so what that means is the courses that we need you to have done before you transfer to our campuses, so that when you get here, you are not falling behind and you don't have too much extra work to complete before you can graduate. Again, we're looking for that time to degree pathway for our transfer students. So we want to make sure that your major preparation is set, your major preparation is ready to go. The idea is that once you transfer, you have a reasonable time to degree when you get to our campuses. So some of our majors will require or recommend different types of coursework. We would also encourage you to consider any other California community colleges. If your particular California community college does not offer a particular major preparation course. So this does have to get done. We will encourage you to kind of find it elsewhere. That way you are completing those requirements. We will, however, encourage you to make sure that you're kind of completing a sequence or a series of courses at one singular California community college. What I mean by that is like the biology sequence. At some universities, or sorry, some colleges, it's a 2 course series. At some colleges, it's a 3 course series. We just want to make sure we complete A, B, and C of that series, or A and B of that series at the same California community college, just so that when we're transferring that over, everything looks really clean and we're not risking any loss of units or loss of subject areas. Again, we're looking for that students to exceed or go above and beyond the minimum GPAs. Like I mentioned here at UC Irvine, we're looking for 3.0 or above for our transfer students. And then keep in mind that iGETSI is a wonderful opportunity. So iGETSI or CalGETSI, it's not a requirement for admission at this time from the University of California system. However, it could be a really useful tool for students to complete iGETSI or CalGETSI and add that onto their UC application, add that onto their UC academic history to kind of help out with some additional courses that may be needed from them when they get to our campuses. All right, timeline for our transfer students, pretty similar here to what we're looking for our first year students with a couple differences. UC application is open now. University of California, Irvine does participate in the transfer admission guarantee. Transfer admission guarantee application is due in September. If you have questions about that, I'm happy to help about transfer admission guarantee. We also have some wonderful transfer admissions counselors at my office that can help talk about that transfer admission guarantee application. They will also, our transfer students will submit, and students who apply for TAG will submit a UC application starting now, available for students to start filling out, and also due on December 1st. So students will still have to submit that to us. Again, we're encouraging you to apply with either FAFSA or the DREAM application for financial aid by the California priority deadline. Transfer students will also need to submit something called the Transfer Academic Update, or the TAU, by January 31st. This is just like your update. Hey, this is what my grades were during fall. This is what I'm absolutely enrolled in for this spring. Or again, for my quarter system schools, this is exactly what I'm enrolled in for winter, and this is what I'm going to plan to take in the springtime. So it just gives us a more updated look at what your academic history is going to be. We will let you know if you got admitted sometime in the month of April, so a little bit later there than our first year students, and you will accept your offer by June 1st if you're applying as a transfer student. So that's your SIR of June 1st. And then again, you'll send us all of your official and final transcripts in the month of July. Alrighty, let's talk tuition and financial aid, and I promise I'm almost done talking your ears off for tonight. So tuition and financial aid at the University of California can be a little bit different at every single campus. Feel free, if you have a phone available to you, scan this QR code. This will give you some information about the cost of attendance at a particular UC, as well as a UC financial aid calculator that could give you an estimated idea of what you can anticipate to pay, what you can start budgeting for should you consider University of California as your pathway for higher education. On average, students who are living on campus here in the state of California within our UC campuses, their tuition and their estimated cost of attendance to our campuses is about $46,800. This is for a full academic year. Again, this is just an estimate. It does not mean that this is absolutely what you're paying. Tuition alone is going to be much, much lower. So if you're not living on campus, which is where kind of a majority of this bulk of cost is going to be, along with some other estimated living expenses that we throw in, these numbers can look pretty different. Now, here at University of California, a good majority of our students are receiving some sort of grant or scholarship. On average, about 67% of our students are receiving about $22,000 in grants and awards. About 54% of our students will pay no tuition because of those grants and scholarships that they receive, either through UC Blue and Gold, the Cal Grant, the Pell Grant, things like that can come into play when our students are being considered for financial aid on our campuses. Another great thing to highlight here with the University of California, about 63% of our students will be graduating from the University of California with no student loan debt. We are well below the national average in student loan debt for those students who are pulling student loans to attend our campuses. And we have a lot of different information on our campus through both the financial aid office, as well as the Division of Career Pathways and our student success initiatives to kind of talk to our students about financing their education, as well as really understanding the process about accepting loans on our campuses, subsidized versus unsubsidized, things like that, payment plans, all that great stuff. We will kind of help out in making sure that students are understanding that cost of attendance and that cost of student loans should they be pulling them for their UC cost. Now, here I mentioned it really briefly. Here at University of California, we do have something called Blue and Gold. Blue and Gold is an award type here on my campus. Most of our students who are California residents whose family earn up to $100,000 will pay $0 in UC tuition costs. Again, many of our California students are also able to work on campus to kind of help with that debt-free education, utilizing work study or part-time work on our campus. And then UC Blue and Gold and the financial aid opportunities that we offer are also helping our students with the predictability of what your costs are going to be on our campus. Another great thing that the University of California has hopped on for is something we call UC tuition stability. So the tuition stability plan is essentially the cost of tuition that you're locking in at the time that you start the UC will be the cost of tuition that you pay the entire time that you stay with UC. So what this means is that if, let's say, at UC Irvine, our tuition goes up by $1,000 while you're a student on my campus, you're locked into your original price. You do not need to pay that additional tuition cost that any of those incoming students would be paying. Now let's talk about UC Irvine. And like I said, I'm almost done yapping about tonight. So thank you again for being here. UC Irvine, we are one of the top public universities in the nation. Our newest ranking is that Forbes just ranked us number 7 in the nation as a top public university. We are also recognized for having a diverse student body on our campus. I talked about how with the UCs, we are trying to mirror a student body that matches that of the state of California. And so we're really proud of being a safe and secure campus for our students, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their ethnic breakdown here on my campus. We are also in a wonderful location. We're located conveniently between LA and San Diego. We're about 5 miles from Newport Beach, about 15 miles away from Disneyland. We have tons of different majors on our campus. We have about 85 different majors and 70 different minors for our students to consider. Our campus also has about 30,000 undergraduate students, so we are going to be a little bit on that larger side of the UC campuses. We're definitely not the biggest UC, but also not the smallest UC. However, we are the second youngest UC. We've only been around for about 60 years now, and in that time frame, we've grown an alumni network around the world of about 200,000 alumni who are always very happy to give back to the community. Now let's talk about those majors. If you have that phone handy, go ahead and scan this QR code. This is going to give you some information about the majors. What I think is super cool is that it's a cute little majors quiz. So if you take it, it'll give you an idea of what majors we would encourage you to consider based on how you answered that little majors quiz. If nothing else, it's a lot of fun. You're welcome to take it multiple times and kind of get a little bit of different feedback on what we think you might like based on how you're answering. Again, we offer about 85 different majors, 70 different minors. At UC Irvine, students are encouraged to double major or pick up a minor if they'd like to. You're not forced to, and it's not part of the UC application, but it is an opportunity should you want to broaden your educational opportunities on our campus. We do offer quite a bit of resources on our campus, things like academic counseling through each individual academic school. A lot of our tutoring support will come out of our Learning and Academic Resource Center, what we call the LARC, which is located over at the Anteater Learning Pavilion here at UC Irvine. We also have a writing center to kind of help you out with any of your writing courses that you might need to take on our campus. And then we also have some peer academic advising, alumni academic advising, and faculty mentorship support available for our students to kind of help you navigate that quarter system that we operate here at the UC. So most of us will operate on that quarter system, with the exception of Berkeley and Merced. They are on a semester system. Study abroad is also a huge thing for the University of California. UC Irvine has strong connections around the world. We offer, through our educational abroad programs, we have about 40 different countries and over 300 different international programs that our students can select from. You can go regardless of your major, regardless of your year. Of course, there's a couple limitations in place, just depending on what it is that you're trying to pursue abroad. So there may be a couple things to keep in mind. However, in general, anyone can study abroad. We also have a couple satellite programs that the UC has partnered up with. So that means all 9 of our campuses are on board for these 4 satellite programs. So we have one in New York, we have one in Washington, D.C., one in Sacramento, and one in Costa Rica. All of them have a bit of a different focus and a little bit of a different draw for our students, but they're essentially internship programs for our students abroad. We also do a lot of professional development on our campus. A big thing that UC Irvine is really into is just making sure that when you leave UC, you have somewhere to be, something to do, and that your degree is really paying off for you. So we will host large career fairs on our campus that are open to all of our students, as well as a career fair that is dedicated to your academic school, where we'll bring in employers that are specifically looking for students within your major. With that in mind, we'll also help you with your resume, with your cover letter, connecting with alumni that are at some of the major employers in our area. UC Irvine is surrounded by about a third of the Fortune 500 companies here in the Orange County area. So we do have a lot of different ways to make sure that you have some sort of professional development support and that you have something to do when you graduate, be that having a job or maybe applying for medical school, law school, pharmacy school, all 3 of which we have here at UC Irvine, or maybe you're applying to dental school, things like that. All right, location is a big thing for us. We are located in Southern Orange County. If you haven't had the chance to take a look at who we are, where we are, this is a little glimpse of our students at the beach. We are in a very safe suburban neighborhood. The FBI has ranked us one of the safest cities for our size for 18 years in a row now. We have tons of hiking, biking, and golf in the area. And like I mentioned, really close to Disneyland, really close to the beach. So we are in a wonderful location down here in Southern California. For housing, it is not required for students to live on campus, but should you want to live on campus, we do offer a 2-year housing guarantee. So you are guaranteed to have a bed on campus for at least your first 2 years, even if you're a first year and a transfer student. We have 2 neighborhoods here at UC Irvine, Mesa Court and Middle Earth, that you can select from. Pictured here is a little view of what a double room would look like on our campus. Again, you're not required to live on campus, but about 80% of our students will choose to live on campus during their first year. All right, I'm almost done. A couple more QR codes for you. Let's talk resources. If you have any information that you may need for the University of California, either general admissions information, admissions requirements, the process of how to be selected, how we review our applications, or how to fill out that UC application, go ahead and scan this QR code. I'll give you all just a couple moments, or if you want to take a picture of what those URLs should look like if you look us up online. All of them are going to be admissions.universityofcalifornia.edu. That's going to be our home website for the entire University of California system. I'll give this another 5 seconds. All right, if you do have any questions about me or my campus, or you just want to stay connected with me, I would love to chat with you all. You're welcome to do so with this QR code. Now, this QR code is going to ask that you register for tonight's event, but this is just a way to help me understand where I met you, where you heard from me. Scan this QR code, fill it out. As soon as you get an email from UC Irvine's campus, go ahead and respond to any one of those emails, and it will go directly into my inbox. So I'll be able to help you out with any questions that you have. So I'll leave this up for another 5 seconds as well. And that's it. I'm all done. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Jeanette, can I start kicking you some
Yes.
questions?
Yes, of course.
Okay, amazing. Do you start reading applications as soon as you receive them or after the application deadline?
That's a really great question. We do not start reading applications until the December timeline. We are actively still visiting schools. We're actively out on the road, and we still need to do our yearly reader training or yearly reading review that we do before we get started. So again, there's no benefit to submitting early or later. Every application will still be read twice by at least 2 admissions reviewers once we get into that December timeframe.
Amazing. Okay, another question. So you mentioned the 10th and 11th GPA. Could you
Mhm.
talk to us about how you look at ninth grade coursework? Do you look at those grades? And then how do you look at senior year coursework? Because you were not going to see those grades until after a student is admitted.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So for the UC application, when a student is filling it out, in that academic history section, we're asking for students to tell us about anything that they've taken that's an A through G class. We ask if you took anything in 7th and 8th grade, so we'll ask if it was a math or a language other than English, and then we'll also ask still about your 9th through 12th grade. Ninth grade is not going to count for our GPA calculation. However, we're still going to see what classes and what grades you got during ninth grade. What we're going to look for there is that A through G completion. Your 4 English classes, one of them has to come out of ninth grade. Your math is likely coming out of ninth grade. Your history, you're probably taking something there. So a majority of your A through G is going to get started there in that ninth grade year. We're going to look and just make sure that you took A through G and that you passed A through G. Let's say maybe you didn't pass an A through G class, totally okay. It's not weighing into your UC GPA calculation. We still want to see that original grade, and then we want to see the repeated grade whenever it was that you took it as a repeat. We'll obviously take that repeated grade into the GPA calculation, but that original grade will not hurt. And then senior year. Because of the time frame when students are applying to the University of California, senior year is going to be reported as in progress and planned. So what that means is that when I receive the UC application, I'm going to see what classes you're enrolled in, and I'm going to assume and make my assumption that a student is going to pass all of these classes. I don't necessarily care about the grade. I just know that you're going to pass senior year. And so what I'm going to look at is the quality of your senior year. Are you challenging yourself? Again, that 4th year of English is going to be there. That above and beyond factor for those A through G's are going to be there. So that's what I'll look like or look for in that area. But those grades themselves do not weigh into the minimum UC GPA that we use for our consideration.
Amazing. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about transferring between UCs and just clarifying if that's a common pathway or how students and families should think about that?
Yeah, so transferring from one UC to another is definitely a possibility. There's going to be quite a few differences with that pathway. The biggest differences there are going to be, first and foremost, we won't require that 7 course pattern from students coming from one UC to another, because again, it's that equivalent to A through G. Our assumption is you obviously had to pass A through G to get to UC, so you've satisfied that minimum breadth of knowledge that we're looking for. Where the big difference is going to be is again hitting that junior level standing and not going over it. And it's really hard to do that when you're at UC. It is very easy for students to hit senior standing when they're applying to our campuses. The other thing with coming with a UC, from a UC is that unfortunately we don't have very much built up support to help students to go from one campus to another. And what I mean by that is when a student is at a California community college, we have wonderful resources like a transfer admissions planner or the UC TAP. We have that UC tag opportunity. We have something called assist.org. That's a great way to look at what classes are transferable, what counts for what. And we just don't have a similar thing in place for students coming from the UC, from the CSU, or from any other college or university that's not the California Community College. So it's possible, yes. And the pathway will still look about the same. We still only admit 1 time a year. The UC application will still only open up in the fall. Student will still need to apply, do the personal insight questions, all of that great stuff that's still required on the transfer application, just those couple minor differences there.
Amazing. Um, so in the CSU presentation, Nate mentioned that there were 2 very specific programs that do not allow transfer students. Does the UC have any closed programs for transfer students, or are all of them, or are any only open to freshman admits, first year?
Yeah, great question. I can't speak on every one of my sister campuses because any of those little nuances might be a little unique for each of our campuses. However, in general, everything will be open for our transfer students. Here at UC Irvine in particular, all of our majors are available at the first year and the transfer level. The catch is going to be that we do not admit transfer students as undeclared. So you're not able to apply as an undeclared major at UC Irvine because of that major preparation part of our review. So you do need to be applying directly into a major, but all of our majors are available to our transfer students.
Okay, here's a great question, I think. Does everyone that reads a UC application know what something like an AVID program is?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you recommend that a student describe it?
Yeah, so yes, Avid, we all kind of know what that is. But where we would want to see descriptions are going to be things, or like maybe NHS. We have all kind of heard of NHS before. The big thing to keep in mind is that your readers are going to be pretty familiar with California, but they not may not be familiar with your particular area. And so you do want to describe things that are very particular to your region. So First Gen Scholars, for example, is a huge community-based organization in Southern California. It's down in San Diego. It's actually really only open to our students in the San Diego region. While some of us may be able to inquire what that is and kind of get an idea of what that is, we're not allowed to make any assumptions on the UC application. So anything that is kind of unique to your area, maybe something that someone wouldn't really know if they weren't familiar with higher education or really education as a whole, you should describe. But AVID, for example, we know what that is. We've heard it a million times. We see it as a class and as an educational prep program or an activity that students are doing. So that one doesn't need to be spelled out as advancement via individual determination, but maybe something else would need to. If you have any questions about what any of those could be, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to let you know if you can leave it abbreviated or if I recommend that you should spell it out.
Amazing. Could you just walk our students and families through what is the typical process that an application goes through after a student presses submit?
Mhm. Yeah, so once a student hits submit, depending on what campuses you're sending your application to, that'll kind of change what the process would look like. Like I mentioned, every single UC is going to do their own review process. Let's say you selected UC Irvine on the UC application. You hit that submit button. Your UC application is going to go first to the Office of the President at their application processing center. And then they are also going to go through and forward any application that selected UC Irvine and forward that over to me. So it'll start with them, it'll stay with them as well. Couple things are going to go into play. They're going to look for plagiarism, they're going to scan for validity, and they're going to run a couple of what they call specialized audits. Basically, they'll reach out to students and say, hey, you reported this. Can you prove that? Can you show me some proof that you've done this? Alternatively, not as happy. Your UC application looks like it was plagiarized. Can you prove that this is original work? And you'll walk through that process with the Office of the President. In the meantime, again, we get a really large volume of applications. So, in the same breath and in the same time frame, each UC campus is doing their admissions review. When an application is received here at UC Irvine, it's going to go through two different readers at least, where we're going to go through, look at everything that we're looking for in our comprehensive review, identify any notable things about the UC application. Maybe a student is really telling us about some unique experiences or their academic achievements or their involvement outside of the classroom, and then we'll make our admissions consideration. If for whatever reason our two readers have completely different opinions, or we just identify, hey, we should really pay some more attention to this application, there's something really unique going on here, it'll go to an additional review. UC application can go through a couple different reviews depending on the circumstance that we're working with. Once a determination has been made, then of course the people way, way, way above me will be taking a look and determining if a student will or will not be admitted to the campus. They will go ahead and make those determinations, come up with our enrollment goals, things like that, and then we'll let you know if you got admitted in the month of March. So it's a very careful process. It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of bits and pieces going on there. But definitely a fun part of our job. Definitely something fun that we look forward to because we get to know the students a little bit differently than we would have in any other situation.
Okay, just a couple more questions and we have a few more minutes.
Sure.
Do you know of any special portfolio requirements for film or architecture at different UC campuses?
Sure. So, generally speaking, some of our arts majors at the UC campuses will require some arts portfolio submission or for students to come into an audition. Again, I can't speak for all of my campuses here, but here at UC Irvine in particular, any major within the Claire Trevor School of the Arts. So my arts major, my two music majors, my drama major, and my dance major will require either a student come into the campus for an audition or to submit an arts portfolio. This could be true at most of the UC campuses, but it's best to keep an eye on each UC that you're applying to. And the UC application will notate it down at the bottom. After the student selects the major of interest, it'll let you know if we need a supplemental submission from you. Other majors that would require that, UCLA's nursing program requires a supplemental application. So again, that's just something to keep in mind. They'll have that here at UC Irvine. We do not.
Fantastic. Could you talk to us a bit about what UC Irvine specifically does to make first year students feel connected on campus?
Yeah, I actually really love that question. So a lot of different things that we'll have in place to make sure that our students feel safe and supported will be through our resource centers on our campus. So I kind of talked about the Anteater Learning Pavilion. That's kind of our hub for anything that has to do with academic support. So it'll have those tutoring services. They will host like student run study sessions in that area. They'll have different things like that just to make sure students are building a little group and a little community of students to help them out. We'll also have something called Student Success Initiatives. This is going to be things like our TRIO programs, our our summer bridge programs. We'll have a couple support areas on our campus so things like the Women's Center, the LGBT Resource Center, the Cross Cultural Center. So all of these spaces will be in place, open to all of our students to just kind of start building that community. Beyond that, we are a very large university campus, so we do have quite a bit of clubs and organizations. We have about 600 clubs and organizations, and we do something, as I'm sure most of my sister campuses have. We have welcome week events. Ours is called the Anteater Involvement Fair. It happens at the beginning of the school year every single year for like 2 weeks. They'll take over all of campus and kind of showcase all the different types of clubs and organizations available for students to start building their community on campus. So those are going to be just some of the things that are in place. We also have things like a mental health resource center that offers workshops to just kind of help students with that transition, especially for those of us moving from Northern California down to SoCal. It's a very different environment that we may be familiar with. Again, we're moving away from home for most of us. It's our first time being away from home. So that's the kind of support that we can help with and just making sure that transition feels smooth, comfortable, and safe.
Fantastic. Could you discuss what the priority is for freshmen, first-time freshmen or transfer students, and like what is the philosophy for the UC on how they look at those two different groups?
Do you mean like our review process, like the different admission
I
requirements?
think it's more like, does one have a higher priority over the other?
Got it. I think I'm seeing this one. It's the one about how many spots are kept for
Yeah.
transfer students. Um, So this one's a little hard to answer for me specifically just because this isn't my niche or my specialty. Again, this is something that might be happening way, way, way above me. But the way that it generally works is that most of our applicant pool is going to be a first year student. For UC Irvine in particular, last year's numbers, we got over 124,000 applications for first year students. We got about 26,000 for transfer students. So vastly different applicant pools that we're working with. In both cases, we still want to identify highly successful students within their context. At the University of California, so the entire system, we're looking to foster a good mix of first year and transfer students on our campus. So we do have a good, healthy mix of about how many students are going to be first year versus transfer students. Here at UC Irvine, I think we're sitting within that 70-30% ratio. So about 70% of our students may be first year students, and about 30% of our students could be transfer students. That number can look a little different year after year. Our actual statistic will be on our website if you wanted to take a look. But that's kind of what that process will look like.
Maybe just to correct me if I'm wrong, but from the UC conferences that I've attended, they talk about how it's sometimes more competitive if you're applying as a senior for certain schools and certain programs. But if you start at a community college and you do really well at the community college, then you have a higher likelihood of getting into some of those programs if you weren't like the 4.4
Mm-hmm.
senior in high school. So I think if that feels right to you too, where it's like transferring can be another opportunity to get to one of these amazing campuses and get
Right.
your bachelor's degree from one of these schools, even if
Yeah.
you didn't have a flawless high school transcript.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly how I would describe it. So, again, those applicant pools are very, very different, and those are going to be about the same that we're looking at all of our UC campuses. A large majority of our applicants to the University of California are going to be first year students, and so our admissions rates and things like that are going to be vastly different because our pools are much, much larger on that first year side. Just to give us a little point of reference, again, over 124,000 applications for first year admission. We were able to admit about 29% of those applicants last year. Now, on the transfer side, we get about 26,000 applications. We were able to admit about 60% of them. And so, again, we're looking at really different applicant pools. The other thing is that there is a much clearer expectation and a clearer guideline on the transfer side versus on the first year side. Again, the only minimums to look at for first year side is the 3.0 and the A through G courses. Now, on the transfer side, we're looking for 7 course pattern. We're looking for major preparation. We're looking for junior level standing. We're looking for that 3.0. And while that might seem daunting and overwhelming, there's so many requirements, it gives you more of a clear cookie cutter look at this is what I need to do in order to be considered for admission. And yes, to an extent, the numbers are going to be very different because of the different applicant pools. Now, that doesn't mean that my very selective majors are no longer going to be selective. Here at UC Irvine, nursing science will remain selective on both sides, computer science, business administration. My engineering and my biology will still remain selective. It's just we're looking at a very different pool now.
Okay, one last question. I think you see it, but I'm going to put a little spin on it.
Sure.
If a student wants to send something to the UC for consideration, like they published a book, should they mail the book? Um, can they do that? Is that something that you will consider? And then part two is if a student uses special characters in their application or hyperlink something, will you be able to see special characters like using another language? Would you click on a hyperlink? And you want people mailing physical things to your admissions office?
Yes, all great questions. Short answer, no. So no, we do not need any supplemental information of any kind. So the only thing that we're looking at during our review process is the UC application and the information that's on it. It does not have any areas for attachments. If you mail us anything, while I'm sure it's lovely, it will not be used in our admissions review. Likely will just be moved along to our shredder because we're not holding on to anything like that. We don't take letters of recommendation. We don't need an email from a community member that really, really wants to sponsor the student with support. None of that is used in our admissions review. The other factor, I'm so sorry, I missed that second part of your
If a
question.
student links a hyperlink, would you click on it?
Yes, that's right. The hyperlinks. No, we do not open anything. The way that the application comes through is not hyperlink friendly, so it will never turn blue for us to click on. It also doesn't allow us to copy and paste actually from that area. So we won't be looking at it in any way. Additionally, we don't have enough time to be opening anything additional with our review process. So no, let's not utilize the limited space available on the UC application with hyperlinks or anything like that that will take us to a different page. We're not going to open them. We're not looking at them or anything like that. We just want to hear their words that they've written for us.
And Jeanette, same thing with like
Mhm.
characters from another language, correct?
Those great question. I think those are visible to us. And the reason I say that is because I have seen some of those words, like especially in my Spanish language with the tildes, we will see some of those come through. But I'm not entirely sure about what other different languages may come through. I would bet that we should stick to that English language and just try to stick to those traditional characters. If there's anything extra that maybe is better conveyed in a different language, you're definitely welcome to tell us about it in the additional comment sections. But again, with that English translation, we just don't want to utilize the very limited space with anything that likely may not be coming through to our campuses.
Amazing. We've gone just a couple minutes over,
Yeah.
but you've been so helpful, so informative. Thank you for your time and all of this great knowledge that you've shared with us. Everyone, thank you for attending. We will be in touch with links and follow up afterwards. So everyone, good night. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night. Thank you so much. Bye.